Hey folks, this is Jared from Wild Games. I'm going to run through a few rounds of a game today to kind of give people a feeling for how the game plays and some of the things that you'll be doing. I'm looking here at sortie number 2 of the campaign, and I'm a few rounds in already. I think each of the players has had 4 or 5 turns or so. You can see that one of our players is kind of pushed far into the map and is sitting on an objective here, and some of our other folks are straggling in the back a little bit. But the enemies have also kind of pressed forward, and so we're kind of in the thick of it. The map's got a few interesting things for us to interact with. There's a couple civilian cities over here that we can help aid the folks trying to evacuate. There's a storage installation here that we can maybe find something interesting. There's a control hub that we can use to interact with the drone enemies on the map. These are the little shorter standees. And then there's a refueling station where the players or the enemies can refuel their thrusters and get some more of that countermeasure. This is a fresh round, so let's just jump into it. On a round, any player can go first, second, or third, or whatever. There's no rule there, but just for the sake of keeping things simple, I'll just probably go left to right, at least in this first round. We're up against 2 Bruick enemy jackets and an MRAV. It's kind of a support jacket, and these are kind of more just your standard soldiers. And we have Fauna, who we also saw in Sortie 1. That's why she's got this extra little ability card here. We also have Raboon, and we have Vicky, who we also saw in Sortie 1, and she got a little development as well. She's bringing a shield into battle this time. Interestingly enough, she has a special macro card where she went to flight school with some of the other pilots, and she knows this guy. She knows Raboon. So it says that if the people that she kind of knows, if one of them, their jacket's destroyed, she's not going to like that, and we're going to flip this card and see what happens. They've also had a couple turns, like I said, they've pushed in, and we've beaten up Raboon a little bit, and he's one of his components is already reduced to 0, and the other here is not that far behind. Okay, so let's jump into it. Actually, I think I might start with the Sten jacket here. I have a drone that's right by me, and I'm on this installation. So I think the first thing I'll do is I'll interact with the installation. It says that I can exhaust my pilot, I could pull one of these tokens off, and then I can either move one of the drones or I can have one of the drones perform their attack. So I see that there's a drone group here with one of the enemy jackets. This is the drone with the I, the Roman numeral 1. So I'll find him here. And his attack is an energy and a kinetic damage at range 0 to 1. So I'm going to have him shoot the green Bruick, which is Fauna. And let's see, she's got a lot of abilities that need cybernetics, so let's start to whittle that down. I'll use my orange damage to remove the sensor countermeasure, and then the yellow to remove the thruster. So we've got this exposed. We might not want to get rid of it because when we do, she's not going to like that. She's going to get an extra little token into the activation bag. So that was my first ability. That didn't cost me any reactor, but I think I want to use some of the cards in my hand. Sten kind of plays a little bit like a support jacket, and this is the second sortie, so I've had access to some of the vendor cards to kind of shape that out a little bit more. I like playing support, so I kind of leaned in a little bit. I'm going to play Purge Protocol. I have to discard a card. So maybe I'll just get rid of these thrusters, and I have to spend a chassis, a point on my chassis, which is kind of expensive. This is a backplane card, so it's going to stick around. It says whenever I destroy a drone, one of my friends in range 2 gains an energy countermeasure. So let's see if we can trigger that. I'm going to use my weapon here for a reactor. This jacket starts with 5, so I'm going to spend 1, go down to 4. And I have this drone who's in line of sight. I can see out of concealment. And I've already damaged him a little bit. This is a group, so there's 3 units there. But this one is 1 damage away. So I will go ahead and just deal that damage to that drone. I would get 2 reputation. I'm not going to track that here. But I'd also put a salvage down onto the map, so maybe one of us can pick that up later. So I destroyed that little drone. Let's see. I didn't surge the card, I didn't need to, but I do have to scrap it, so I'm going to toss this in my scrap. But I did trigger Purge Protocol, I destroyed a drone, so one of my allies, which Armor is in range 2, 1, 2, he's going to get a orange energy shield cube. That's nice. So I still have a bit of reactor here. I have 4 more. Also, this triggered because this is a support jacket. Oops, sorry, scroll got a little crazy there. So I get to add a counter to this. I gave an ally a defense countermeasure, so I get to tick this up a little bit. I'm going to play Blaze Capacitors. This is 2 more of my reactor, and I discard another card. And, I had to exhaust my pilot to use the base there. This is going to give me an initiative token, and it's going to let me draw a card. So we'll pop that down. Okay, cool. Scatter Rifle. This lets me debuff one of the enemy jackets so that they don't get to do as much of their abilities on their next turn. So could I use that? I guess Raboon is right here, so I might be able to use that on him, but I think one of the other players might be able to knock him down. I think I'm just going to stay put. I'm going to use one of the reactors here and spin these 2 counters on this armor plating to gain myself another armor. And I'm going to draw a card with my last point of reactor. So my turn is over here. I'm going to, in my turn, I'm going to draw a card. I'm going to remove all of the each of the negative malice tokens that I have, but I don't have any. And then I'm going to pull a token out of the activation bag and see if the game gets a turn. So I'll go up here, and we've got 1 more token in the bag. So when the bag's empty, we're immediately going to put all of the other tokens and shuffle them back in. And we've got 3 unique tokens on the board, so we're going to go ahead and do those left to right. These colored tokens tell us to find the jacket whose player mat or their enemy mat matches the color, and let them have a turn. So Raboon here is going to draw a behavior card, and we're going to do what it says. So his first little ability he wants to do is he wants to move, and that little with the curved line inside of the icon is telling us that he gets to thrust. He's going to ignore terrain, but he wants to go to a hex that's got one of these interactable tokens that he can attack from, and there is one here, and there's also one here. This is closer, so the tiebreaker is they always just want to go to the closest spot. So he's going to go to that hex. Now he's going to use his utility macro if he doesn't have any overheat tokens. He doesn't, so we're going to go and do from the pilot to the cards to the jacket all of those yellow abilities. So his first ability, Raboon's, is bait. He wants to move one of the players that's at range 1 to 3 toward him. So he's calling in this guy, hey, come on over. He's got no cards with the macro, so nothing to do there. But then his jacket, the Bruick, its ability on the utility is to give him a bonus damage token. If he had some charge, he would do that again, but he doesn't. Now he's going to move on. He's going to do his offensive macro. Raboon is kind of a debuff pilot. He's going to use Plasma Claw to range 0 attack with a bunch of nasty stuff. There's only one target, and that's the Sten jacket, so they're going to take first an explosive damage. I'll just use my armor countermeasure to stop that instead of taking it to a component. And he's going to give me an overheat counter and a logic corruption counter. These are going to stop me. This is going to make sure I have less reactor on my next turn, and also stop me from using my countermeasures and my components from playing abilities. So that's not very fun. He would also use this targeting token that he just got to pump that attack up by 1 red damage. So we'll spin that, and I'll actually just probably use another armor to block that. Now we're going to move to the jacket, and his Hellstorm battery will do a red damage to 2 players in range. However, luckily we've reduced his cybernetics below 2, and this needs a 2 to work, so that's actually not going to do anything. Now he wants to interact with the things that are on his hex. We see that there is something on his hex. it is the little city token. So we'll look in our book. That's our control hub. We remember that. And when the enemy interacts with it, it says that we're going to activate the nearest drone group. And there's one right here. So we'll look at number 1. And the way these work, as long as at least one of the units on this card is not destroyed, we're going to do what the card says. So it wants to move to where it can do a range 0 to 2 attack. It already can because it can see our friend that he just moved into the hex. That's kind of dirty. And it's going to attack for an explosive and kinetic damage. I will use an armor to stop that explosive, and I'll use the sensors to stop that yellow kinetic damage. Alright, now this guy wants to run. He's going to go to the furthest concealment hex without a player in range 3. So we've got this at range 2, and we've got this at range 2. So those are our options, and let's have him go here because I think our friend is going to want some revenge. So that does it for this enemy jacket's turn. We're going to discard this token. Now we have a blank. Typically the way these work is they don't have any trigger or any action, but we're going to pull them out of the game. So that was a little moment of reprieve that's now gone. And now we're going to use the drone token. This is telling us to first, this is a really prototype image obviously, but it's first going to tell us to find all of the walker type drones and activate them. We haven't got any of those on the map right now, but it does tell us to activate the spiders, which we do have one here. So again, he's going to do that same thing and attack for that explosive and kinetic damage. I think I'm going to do the exact same thing to defend that this time around. Alright, so we finished doing the game's turn here. Once we do that, we would progress any like smoke field tokens that might be on the map or any other timed tokens, and then this is going to tell us to move this little tracker one step forward. That's important because there may be things on here that are important for the sortie, but also these are like enhanced activation tokens for our enemies, and when this token reaches them, they go into the bag. So that enemy is going to start getting more turns, and the turns are a little bit nastier. Alright, let's proceed to the next player turn here. Let's go and take Ormer's turn. I think he wants to try to get revenge on Raboon for moving that drone to be able to attack him, or baiting him in rather. So let's jump in. He's going to play Hardpoint, which costs nothing, and it lets me search my arsenal or my cache for a gear card. This card's going to get scrapped, but let me go find my heavy weapon. Oh, it was right on top of my deck, so I didn't even really need to do that, but that's fine. I'm going to shuffle. This costs 3, and I kind of want to beef it up with this card, so that's going to be 4 reactor. I need to pull this off. I've got 5, so I could, yeah, I think I've got enough here. So I'm going to spin one of my reactors and use a basic ability to move 0 to 2. This hex only has 2 jackets, so I can move into it and be the 3rd. Now I'm going to play Knuckle Duster. This says that the next attack ability that I perform at range 0 is going to get targeting. It's going to get a bonus point of damage. I could surge this by spending a couple of these tokens. I don't have them, but I actually have a plan for this one. So I've got 3 reactor left. I'm going to play my big machine gun. This is going to give me a explosive and 2 kinetic damage, but it does have +1 damage here, and I've got some accuracy to use. So let's go over to the enemy. Let me just bring this with me. So I'm going to use that first point of yellow to knock his cybernetics down to 0. I've brought this component to 0. He's got one of his little tokens on there, so that means we're going to throw this into the bag. Now I want to reduce this component down, but there is a countermeasure in front of it. I can't damage this until this is cleared out, and I don't have any energy damage. However, I can use a point of accuracy to change my yellow into an orange, so I'm going to use that to knock this off, and then I'm going to use that red point of damage to do reduce that by 1. And Knuckle Duster actually gave me targeting, so I could add another yellow or red damage, so I'll add 1 more red. I would get 3 reputation because I did 3 components of damage here. I did 1 on cybernetics and 2 on the chassis. But again, for the sake of this example, we're not going to track that. But I've destroyed this jacket. When his chassis went to 0, he's going to drop a salvage down. So I'll pop that on the hex. And this is something I'm not going to go into a ton right now, but his little evacuation ship would start to come, and he would want to try to get out of the battle. And if players wanted to get him out of the campaign, this is when they would try to stop that. One interesting thing happens here, because we remember that Vicky was pals with him, and it says that when one of those pals gets destroyed, we're going to flip this card. So her card's now telling us that her attacks are going to get a little more damage, because she's not too pleased about that. That is going to wrap up Ormer's turn. I'm going to draw a card. I don't have anything to get rid of, and I'm going to flip this and pull a token out of the bag. We actually are going to get rid of this because that jacket's gone now. We're going to pull this off. We're going to pull all his purple stuff off. We're just going to draw another token, and we'll go on to the next player. All right, let's do the last player for the round here. The player piloting Ulf kind of liked the sequence ability of this jacket, where it's going to get some charge tokens when they interact with salvage. So they were lucky enough to see some cool cards from the vendors that kind of lean into that, and we have them in our hand here. So let's see how it goes. Ulf's down here kind of a little far away from his friends a bit, but there are some drones nearby, and he's going to try to capitalize on that. So they're going to play this backplane card first. We can tell it's a backplane card. It's got the little frame element here. It's going to cost me 1 reactor. Ulf only starts with 4 as a maximum, but when it's played, we're going to get a couple counters on this, and it lets me draw some cards when we destroy drones. I'm also just going to go ahead and play this Sigma injection cycle. It's going to cost me a 2nd reactor and a point of cybernetics, and this is going to give me a bonus when I interact with salvage. I'm going to play Fire for Effect. That's going to bring me down to 0 reactor, and this card is a red explosive damage at a range of 1 to 2, so not my hex, but at least 1 away. But I get to target up to 3 enemy units. So I'm gonna target the drones that are at range 1 and range 2. I've got A, and I've got the Roman numeral 2. A is a little rocket platform. It's got 1 defense left, so I'm going to go ahead and knock that down. I would get 2 reputation, and I would be able to put a salvage there. This is all the units there are destroyed, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this off of the map. And that is done. And then for the other 2, I've got this tank drone here. I can do these are each individual units, like we said before, so I can target them each for a red damage. Now, I did destroy a drone, and it says whenever I destroy a drone, I can remove a counter, and if I do, I get to draw 2 cards. Now, I'm down to 0 reactor, but I do have a charge here, and I've got this big beam cannon card in my hand. I'm kind of keen to use that against Vicky. She's up here in the city, and I can't quite see her though, but since she flipped this pilot card and she's a little bit more deadly, I kind of want to contribute to getting rid of her. That might be a good idea for the team to focus on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first use a gray sensor cube. And I've got a basic ability here that says that I can spot something in range 2. And that just means that I can get line of sight to a unit that's in concealment or smoke. So I can attack her now as if she was just kind of on a regular hex. I'm going to spend this charge token to use the beam cannon. And that's going to give me 1 energy damage at a range of 0 to 3. But I'm gonna kind of push it a little bit. It says that I can gain a charge and a delay to add either an orange or a yellow damage to this attack. I think I want to get rid of her cybernetics. She's got an ability here that if her cybernetics is above 1, she's going to let her allies gain sensors, and she also has this rocket pod that does damage equal to her cybernetics. So I'm going to go ahead and clear off the countermeasures there. Hopefully my teammates can get that down and reduce her a little bit. Now I could keep playing. I got another charge token here, but I don't think I have a great use for it. But what I will do is I'm going to play Mantis Optics. it requires me to discard a card, so I'm going to discard Plasma Strand, and this is going to gain me back a Sensor's Countermeasure, which Ulf is not the sturdiest jacket, so having a little extra defense there will be valuable. So I'm going to end my turn. I'm going to draw a card. Now here it says if you have a delay, I'm going to get rid of that, and I have to pull an extra token out of the bag. So we're going to go ahead and pull 2. So I got a sortie token, and luckily I got another sortie token. So these are going to stack, and we don't have 3 unique tokens, so the game is not going to get a turn yet. We've finished the round. All the players have had a turn, so we're going to flip these cards up. We'll begin a new round. If there was any effects in the sortie or cards or anywhere that said at the end of the round do something, we would do that now. But otherwise, we're going to start the next round. All right, for the next round, the Sten player has asked to go first. They have a clever play where they want to get over to this other Bruick, get over to Fauna, and just debuff her to Oblivion. They wanted to thrust over there and use all their reactor to do a couple of cards, but then they realized that they have a Logic Corruption and an Overheat. So this lets them, or this stops them from using their cubes here for anything, and this is going to reduce her or their maximum reactor by 1. That kind of puts a wrinkle into the plan because we can't use the thruster to give us the ability to kind of fly over this waterfall. So we're going to have to spend a reactor to move here and another reactor to move here. I only have 2 left and I can't use my cube to get more, so I'm going to have to forego this awesome card and just play my scatter rifle. I'm going to give Fauna a Logic Corruption, and that's actually pretty effective against her because it says that any of her abilities that have a component requirement like this, and this, none of them work. So as long as she was going to use the offensive or utility macro, this will be a really big value on her next turn. Now, I don't really have anything else I can do here. So I'm going to end my turn. I'm going to draw a card, but I'm going to use this initiative token so I don't have to pull a token from the bag, and that's going to give my team a little bit more breathing room this round. So I'll flip my card and we'll go to the next player. Alright, the elf has asked for a turn next, and they kind of want to lean into this this salvage here. So the first thing they want to do is they want to get to the conduit sequence mode. They don't want to spend a reactor, so they're going to put a card from their hand onto the bottom of their arsenal to switch that over. We're going to spend a reactor to pick up this salvage. When we do that, we're going to roll the salvage die and see what we find. We've drawn the trophy symbol, and wow, according to the sortie book, this lets us draw 4 cards. That's pretty wild. So we'll put 4 cards in their hand. And because of our sequence, when we interact with salvage, we're going to get a charge. And we also played this card into our backplane that lets us add a counter and draw a card. The next attack that we perform this round is also going to get a point of accuracy. Maybe that'll come into play. We want to keep doing this, and we want to keep our reactor high, so I'm actually going to be a little brazen. I'm going to thrust into this rocky field so I don't have to spend a reactor, and I'm going to interact again. So that's 2 of my reactors so far. I'm going to get a charge token, I'm going to add a counter, and I'm going to draw a card, and let's see what we roll. We rolled the ability, we found some defenses. We're going to gain a sensor and a piece of armor. That's cool. Now, I do have a ton of cards in hand, and I've got an attack here. I think I want to keep this rolling. My movement ability now is a little bit worse on Ulf. The standard for all the jackets is to spend a reactor to move up to 2 hexes, but now I have to spend 2 reactor to move up to 3 hexes. It's worse, but not the end of the world. But it is a little rough because I only want to move into this space. So I'm going to spend my last 2 reactor to move here, and I'm going to use a couple of the charge tokens I just got to play my plasma strand, which will give me a kinetic damage at range 0, and I want to surge it to get that energy damage 2. So we've got the tank drone 2, and we'll go up here and we'll do those last 2 points of damage to it, destroying that. And that's going to drop a salvage, and I also get one of these awesome reward cards. So I'll grab one of those and put in my back plane. It's going to give me some super cool one-time shot ability. We will put this salvage down from destroying that drone, and I think I want to hang on to my charge tokens. I have a bunch of cards in my hand. I could probably keep things rolling, but for the sake of the video, we'll just end their turn here. We'll draw a card, we'll flip their card, pull a token from the bag, and see what we got. Okay, so we've got 3 unique tokens here. So we're going to go ahead and perform these actions, and we're going to go left to right. Alright, so the first token here is a drone token, and it says first it wants us to activate the spider drones. We've got the same one here that we've had for a while, and they can't move here to be able to see us on this hex because it's on concealment. They wouldn't be able to attack us. However, if they were to move here, they would be able to see the Ulf. So that's what they're going to do, and their attack is that red and yellow, explosive and kinetic. And we have plenty of countermeasures. I'm going to go ahead and spin the armor, and I want to keep my thruster because I like moving around, especially when I'm in this kind of more cumbersome sequence for movement. So I'm going to spend a sensors to block that last one. I could have just taken that damage to either the hull or to the cybernetics for the yellow point, but I think I want to keep those high still. I'm pretty good on the components right now. Now it wants us to do the tank drones. We still do have this here, and there is still a unit alive on this group, so it's going to deal an explosive and an energy damage to our Ulf. Okay, things are getting a little bit more tricky. Maybe I'll reduce this component by 1 for the orange damage and just take the explosive and block it with armor. I have to be careful because when this gets to 0, I'm going to have to take one of these nasty jacket damage cards. It's going to go in my back plane, it's going to give me a debuff, and I have to keep that card even outside of the sortie until I spin the reactor to get rid of it. Alright, we're all done with this token. Now we've got our sortie effect. Looking at the sortie book, it tells us that the next thing we do there is we're going to bring in another drone group up here on this hex. So now we have this fella who's going to be biting our ankles and slowly making its way over to us. Now lastly, we have the green enemy jacket. So we're going to go over to Fauna, that's the green one, and we're going to draw her behavior card. She wants to move 0 to 3 towards a hex that's within range 1 of the most players. Well, she is already there. This hex is within range 1 of the most players because there's 2 of us here, and any other hex, I guess she could move to these, but she's already where she needs to be. The first thing that she wants to do now is to use her weapon macro. So we're going to look at what weapon the sortie has chosen for her. And she's got this machine gun, which is going to do an explosive and kinetic damage at a range 0 to 2. Because Sten and Ormer are both in that range, we get to pick who's going to be the target. Ormer has some cards in his hand. He's got a shield and he's got some damage prevention that he can play, so he's going to go ahead and just use his armor, and he's actually going to reduce his cybernetics. He doesn't have a plan to use that right now, but this thrust 2 is seems really powerful for him. Now she wants to use her utility macro. So we're going to start on the left, and we would use Shock Strike, but the logic corruption says that she doesn't get to do any abilities that have a component requirement. So we're going to skip that one, and we're going to go to her development card that she got. She got a Jacket OS Disruptor. So she's going to do an attack of discard 1, again, range 0 to 2. And let's see, I don't think Sten's going to have the time to play this card, so he'll go ahead and discard that. Now we're going to go to the Jacket Precision Targeting Package. She'll get that bonus point of damage for later for another turn. She'll try to interact, but I don't think oh, there actually is something on there. There's a salvage. Now, salvage is a little interesting because we're actually going to remove that token. She's going to take away the ability for the players to get that, and she's going to gain a sensor and an armor. So we're going to fill up from left to right the most empty box that has a component, which would be our cybernetics. She's going to beef that right back up. Lastly, she wants to move toward a concealment hex without a player jacket. So she's kind of try to retreat a little bit, and it looks like the closest one is going to be here with her ally. So they're going to team up a little bit there. Her deck's empty. We're going to just move that over, shuffle it back. We're going to slide over any stacked tokens that didn't activate, and we're going to progress the enemy activation marker here. We're really close for Vicky to get one of her special tokens added to the bag. And that is it for Ormer's turn. So the last turn we have here for the round, this jacket's got a lot of ideas. He kind of wants to go over to this refueling station and pick up these thrusters before these enemy jackets can, but maybe that's a little risky to go that close and then kind of make the hex fill up so his allies might not be able to support him. We have this random kind of side quest that we added to this sortie as an up armor depot. I could go here and start to gain some hull component, and also, you know, I could interact with some salvage and start to make my way to do some of these other side objectives. But I kind of don't want to leave my team high and dry, unless maybe they have the same idea and they can just kind of come over there with me. We regroup a little bit. But I think I'll keep it simple. I've got 2 counters here on my backplane card. I'm going to spin those, and it's going to let me find a gear card from my deck or from my cache. I'm going to just search my deck, and I'm going to find my gun. And I'm going to, this may be a little overboard, but I'm going to use that to deal some damage to this drone, and I think that will be enough to just finish it off. So this will be off the map. That'll give us a little bit more breathing room, and we will get to put a salvage down there. So I've got 2 reactor, and I think I might just keep it simple. I'm going to play this control circuitry card. I've got 2 options. I could gain a sensor cube, or I can put some counters onto a card in my backplane. I kind of like putting these counters back on so I can start to kind of get my shield back a little bit, and that'll help me beef myself up for later on. I'm going to probably call it there, draw a card, and I'll pull a token out of the bag. We see that Vicky is going to gear up for a turn shortly here, and that's going to end our round. So just like before, we'll see if there are any end of round effects. We'll reset all these cards, and players will jump into the next round. I hope that was helpful, kind of give you an idea of how play looks in ExoTerra, a bunch of the options, and how you really are working together and trying to pick apart these nasty enemies. You know where to find us on Discord if you have any questions, want to join a playtest group or anything like that, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.